This man makes 20,000 per video, sometimes significantly more.
My Jamie Dimon video, which got a lot of views, I made that in 2022. In a hurry, actually. I did not spend that much time on it.
He tells us exactly what the pros and cons of having a documentary YouTube channel are.
It sounds like a dream, but the reality is quite different.
What are the tricks to get hundreds of thousands of views?
I write assuming everybody has ADHD.
Why he thinks AI will destroy YouTubers and how he wants to profit off it.
So that I become the first to take advantage of that. And so I can make enough money so that one day when AIs take over, I have some left over to support myself.
And why talking about Rothschild online is a bigger problem than you might think.
But then, when I try to publish the Rothschild video, that's when I realized that some of the conspiracies might be true.
Welcome to Money and Power. This is a masterclass on how to make millions with documentary YouTube channels.
We want to have peer-to-peer conversations. The question is how to win.
All right, Rocky, I'm extremely proud and honored to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Obviously, people who follow my channel 100% know you too.
Exactly.
I would say you are like the benchmark of documentary channels and especially business documentary channels. Your YouTube channel gets millions of views. I'm pretty sure you're making tens of thousands per month, maybe more in good months.
Yeah, good guess.
and you're uploading like once a month or so. So it's not like
recently it's been once every 2 months, but I'm trying to start doing that faster.
Yeah, so it's like it's like you're not uploading every week or so, but the results are incredible. And I guess that sounds like a dream to many people who would like to be YouTube stars, right? So let's dig into that a little bit.
It sounds like a dream, but the reality is quite different.
So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it takes a lot of work to release one video in my point of view. And for the very beginning, my strategy was to think of my channel as a binge-worthy Netflix show. And I was thinking that in the long term, if I have like a good collection of evergreen content, and they should generate me income without having to upload very often, which right now I'm at that stage. But still, and being a YouTuber sounds great, but the reality is that every upload is a gamble. Every upload is a lot of pressure. So part of the reason why I've been kind of slow with uploading is that pressure, is that stress of trying to up my last upload, you know? So I take a lot of time to get the script right and try to make sure my video is as good as before, if not better. Yeah.
It's like you're speaking from the depth of my soul, because that's exactly what it feels like putting YouTube content out there. Now, you said let's talk money a little bit first, because that's what people always want to hear, right? So you say if you don't upload at all at this stage, the channel is at a point where it generates revenue through evergreen content. So like roughly, and I know that this goes down quite a bit if you don't upload for some time, right? But roughly where are you there?
Yeah, the thing with evergreen content is that I believe is one of the best strategies any YouTubers can pursue. And it used to be the case that, daily uploads was a thing. I don't know if you watch Casey Neistat, that guy had insane amount of uploads, and every one of them was pretty good. But what happened was that I realized that you can look at evergreen content as a sort of intangible assets that generates cash flow down the road. That's what I was thinking about. So, yeah, you were asking about how much it makes in the long run. So, to give an example, my Jamie Dimon video, which got a lot of views, I made that in 22 in the hurry. Actually, I did not spend that much time on it. It sort of surprised me. This part about YouTube is interesting, is that you can't really predict which one's going to do well. Anyway, that one did well. And even today, on a monthly basis, it brings me about $600 a month. So, and imagine if I have 10 of those or 20 of those every month. So now you can have an idea how much it will make. That's a true passive income if you think about it. Not 100%, but you still have to upload, but that's very close to passive income. So
yeah. And I guess this is also something that people can more or less calculate for most channels, right? Because you can go on websites like Social Blade. You can see how many views a channel is doing on average, and if you know the niche, you can calculate, you can estimate the RPM or like the CPM, right? So,
but with finance channel, you have to multiply by 2, whatever number you see, because finance is a pretty good CPM. So whatever you see on Social Blade, multiply by 2. That's probably how much a channel will make. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is like roughly what is the CPM on your channel or in your niche?
Yeah. So it's different by different months. So close to Christmas in 2023, it was about 21 to 23. And you can divide it by 2. That's about $10 RPM, right? But now January it's like $7 RPM. So I don't know if it's the same for your channel. Probably the same. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more or less the same. Although I think the Megalomedia channel is at like 650 or so right now RPM.
Yeah.
So
right now
it's a
for
little
me
bit
it's 7
lower
for this month.
Yeah, and I didn't check on Christmas, but Christmas is always a better time, right? So all the faceless YouTubers are pumping out their ultra long form compilations of like 3-hour long videos just to milk the market.
But did you know that YouTube is trying to take down some of those channels, which is kind of scary. I saw this on Twitter the other day. Some dude, he released lots of hour-long documentaries and completely automated. I don't know how I seem like someone who knows the YouTube suite, but I don't actually know how other channels are doing it. So he released a lot of YouTube videos, hour-long, probably narrated by AI, probably like even more automated than, other channels. So it was taken down. It had like 600,000 subscribers, something like that. And it was taken out by YouTube. YouTube literally removed the entire YouTube channel, which is kind of scary. I hope it doesn't affect you and me.
But did you actually see this channel? I heard about this too, but I like all the people in this bubble are getting upset about it, but I don't know the channel, so I don't know what the content looked like. Did you know it?
I didn't know, but I imagined, because I saw a lot of similar channels popping up, and when you click in, it's like hour to hour long. You click into it, it's just information created by AI, and you could tell. But once in a while, their video hits the algorithm jackpot, and one video gets like a couple of million views, but the quality isn't really that good. I've seen a lot of those channels popping up lately.
Yeah, let's talk. I mean, this is a super interesting topic. Let's talk about this also in a second. I also want to know like, for example, you have this special love for paranormal or alien activities. So I want to talk about this. That's a secret
I don't want to share with anybody.
I want to talk about this in a minute. But first, let's finish this revenue topic. So basically, right, people can obviously estimate what you make with Google AdSense, but then there's a couple of other revenue channels for you as a creator and for you as Phineas. So what else, what other buckets are there, and how much does that make roughly?
Yeah, so AdSense is about 50% of what I make. And besides that, the sponsorship, I got sponsored by a few finance companies. And the thing about finance companies, they pay a lot, Typically, they have a deeper pockets than other people. And so that makes up about half of what I make, sometimes more. Because the good thing about sponsorships is that some month my videos might not be doing well, and I may make less on AdSense, but the sponsors are consistently paying the same amount for each video. Yeah.
And then super roughly, what are some CPMs for sponsors?
I have an agent who's working for me, so he's negotiating with the CPM. All I do is to receive the money, I guess. So he
It's always a good situation to
it's
be
always a
in,
good situation, yeah. And it takes 15%, 18% cut, but 10K on average for each video. So sometimes it could be 12K. But what I like about having sponsors is that sometimes they will send you free products. And I did a sponsorship for this robot vacuum cleaner, and they sent me a robot vacuum cleaner. I really like that. And then for my future video, I'm also working with a food company, like pre-made food for athletes, for stuff like that. Yeah, they sent me a bunch of food to eat for a couple of weeks, and it was pretty good. Although the cost of it is probably not that much, but the perks like that are very exciting.
It's fun,
yeah,
and you get to test the product actually, right? Like you get to test what you're actually like recommending to your audience. And
exactly.
In the case of your food, I guess it's good because then you can make some more gains even.
More gains, yes.
Okay, cool. That's super interesting. So I mean, 10K per video is really that is something people dream of, right? Then you can at least double that for the Google AdSense revenue. Then you said, or I saw when I was researching in the depths of the internet, you had a Patreon at some point, or you still have it, but
I don't want to talk about that. No,
so that's like
the thing with my Patreon is that I never promote it. I'm the type of guy who's very hesitant to promote Patreon or anything like that because it feels like begging, And so my Patreon is insignificant, so it doesn't make any money. $40 a month, maybe.
Okay, yeah, it's
but
enough.
I
for
do know someone who, a smaller YouTuber, who has about less than 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, but he promotes his Patreon a lot. He manages to make considerable amount of money from Patreon alone as a channel who's not even monetized on YouTube, and he brings in about $1,000 to $2,000 just from Patreon by being a smaller YouTuber. So it's possible if you're a smaller YouTuber and you want to monetize quickly. And the way he does it is that he's a financial advisor. He will go in super in depth on Patreon, and he will post videos talking about the state of economy, something that people will pay for, but not getting a lot of views on YouTube. So the way he does it is pretty enlightening for me. So he actually recommended me to get started on Patreon, but I was just very hesitant about promoting it.
Yeah. I think there are strategies like that, right? He could probably also be selling like a high ticket course or something like that. If you have
that's overdone.
that is, I mean, and if you do it, you need to offer genuine value, right? It needs to be something where, okay, like I pay $1,000 for that, but it's actually worth 5,000 or so, right? So that's why people are willing to pay for it.
Did you hear that our competitor, our mutual enemy, Jake Tran, has started a course teaching other people how to start new YouTube channels.
Bro, I'm like Jake Tran. I think he's trying to milk the market.
It's trying to milk too much.
I don't know the guy personally, but to me just from how he runs his channel, that's the impression that I get, And then there was this like Evil University or something like that.
I never heard of that, but I'm not surprised. Yeah.
the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that's not a benchmark to look up to, you know. But there are very cool benchmarks. There's this one gardening guy, I forgot the name, but
Gardening.
yeah, like a couple of million subs with just freaking gardening, right? He's
Damn.
like showing how he does his gardening, and he sells on the back end. He sells gardening products, and that's actually like a massive business now.
Yeah, that's
right?
a good model. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is interesting. But okay, so for you, it's mainly AdSense and the sponsorships at that point. But do you have ideas, or what are you looking at in the future in terms of monetization? Because I know the struggle. You also don't want to seem like you're begging for money, or you're just offering some kind of bullshit to the audience.
Exactly.
Because also this trust is like it's lost pretty quickly, right? So
yeah, exactly.
What are your visions there for the future?
Yeah, and one of the lessons I learned for doing YouTube is that you should never assume your audience are dumb. You always have to assume that they, they're human beings. You know, you can't. You know, if you try to pull some nasty stuff, and an audience would know. So, also another thing I learned is that it's also safe to assume that all your audience have ADHD. So which I write assuming everybody has ADHD. So that's why I always like make sure the writing has turns and a lot of attention grabbing moments. And that's also another good advice if you want to start a YouTube channel. Anyway, yeah, I have other like projects that are not directly related to YouTube, but as a result of YouTube. You know, the good thing about being in finance is that being a financial YouTuber, you tend to attract a lot of professionals in the field, and sometimes someone will contact me and they want to do this and that. So I'm currently working with some fund, actually, some private equity fund. I cannot disclose any more than that. I'm working with a private equity fund. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I remember you told me when we met in New York, so let's leave it at that. But for sure, there's interesting opportunities coming at you, even more so as you have this massive channel, which is hyper focused on one type of audience, which is like finance enthusiasts broadly, right? So I can imagine that's cool.
And also living in New York. I don't live in New York right now, but I live in Greenwich, Connecticut, which is right next to New York, and the location aspect of it really helps. Yeah.
So you decided to move to Greenwich because all the hedge fund guys live there, or what was the reasoning?
Yeah, I got invited by a YouTube fan to visit Greenwich once, and I liked it, and almost all the hedge fund big hotshots are living here. Yeah, and I like the quiet, and it's just as expensive though. It's same as New York, but it's a lot more quiet, and yeah, it's a good environment to be a YouTuber.
Yeah. Let's talk about quality and production. So I think like for me personally, that's even more of a passion topic than the money that we talked about earlier, right? So
yeah,
looking at your documentaries, they are top notch. Like it's so polished, it looks like a freaking Netflix documentary, right? And to anyone starting on YouTube, we can put this out here. I think you will agree. Quality is king, right? This platform is so saturated that strategies where you just pump out content, this will not work. This is also
it doesn't
why
work anymore. Yeah,
doesn't work anymore, right? This is why all these like faceless channels that are like these typical faceless channels with low quality, I think some of them, they can have these hits where one in 100 videos goes viral and then they make some money, but this is not a viable long-term strategy, right? So quality is king. For you, what is the process to get to this level of quality? Because your quality is insane.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, when I first started, I saw this Mr. Beast quote, and around 2020, I'm not a typical audience of Mr. Beast videos. I don't watch. I mean, I don't watch his videos like a lot of other people do. But I studied him as a YouTuber. Like I try to figure out how he did it. And a quote really struck me. It said, "If you take twice as long to make a video good, it might get 10x the views. So it actually helps to put more time on the quality of it." And he said, "What matters if you take 10 months to make a video if it's really good, and the algorithm will always pick it up." So yeah, I sort of have that mentality when it comes to making YouTube videos. And the way I did it was I looked around for documentaries I liked. I really liked History Channel documentaries, when it talked about American history, and also some Netflix documentaries. So I studied them. I just watched them. I never went to film school. I was a finance major, and but I picked a documentary series that I liked, Man Who Built America. I think people could figure out that my style is very similar to that documentary series. And what I did was that I watched every scene, I broke them down, I studied every line, I studied every scene, I tried to figure out, okay, when to add an exposition, when to create an establishing shot, and how to create a continuous suspense and conflict. And if you're an audience on my channel, you might notice that the narrative style is always like, it never ends. Like, when some conflict happens with Jamie Dimon, for example, and when he solves one problem, another problem rises. But all of this is based on historical facts, of course. But it's the way it's the way I try to tell it, and I learned all of that just by studying good documentaries. Yeah.
And I saw that you even printed out like actual storyboards, right? Or you printed out frames from a certain movie, or what was that?
Oh, right now with AI, it's actually pretty easy to do storyboards. So I do, this is my process. I would take a week to do research and longer. I'll read a book or two, and then I write down all the major events that happened, and then I turn those events into a storyboard, try to figure out and how to put them together in a way that's engaging. And sometimes I use AI generative arts just to visually represent how the story flows. So.
And do you think visually there, so in terms of the storyboard, and so you have these different things that happen, right? You read all these books, so you have these different events that happen. And then as a next step, like, are you starting to think visually, like, how do I put them into a order, like, or is it more like in terms of like events? So, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because if you like, let's say you design like a Toy Story story or whatever, then these storyboard artists, they think in a very visual way, right? They're
exactly.
like, okay, this guy is going to walk there, and then this explodes, and then whatever. Like, is that your style, or how do you approach this?
Yeah, I approach it in a similar way. Because you're a documentarian, you're not making stuff up, right? So the way I do it is I try to gather a lot of events, because I'm not cover everything, but I try to cover the events that have some kind of conflict, or the protagonist is facing adversity and trying to overcome it. People love hearing other people struggle, especially successful people, and I try to focus on those. And that's the kind of the main lesson I learned from History Channel style or Netflix. They focus on the conflicts sometimes, and the best, my most view, if you look at my retention on my YouTube channel, and every time I focus on personal conflict, it's like audience attention is all in there. For example, Larry Fink, he tried to quit Blackstone, and Stephen Schwarzman was very angry, and there was like standoffish for a while. I tried to tell that story, and that part people really want to hear about that the conflict. Another one was from my Morgan Stanley documentary. Was the CEO Phil Purcell was being a tyrant, trying to he forced his predecessor out, and then there's a lot of conflicts there. And then in the end, he got forced out himself, and then the old CEO comes back. That kind of story architecture is timeless. People always want to hear about this kind of elements. So I try to look for those. Try to look for personal conflict. Try to look for heroes fighting obstacles and stuff like that. And in the meantime, making sure they're actually happened. Not stuff I make up. So.
Okay, so and then you essentially magnify these parts, right? Where you think here's like something interesting, and then the stuff that's someone went to school and whatever lived his life. That's something that maybe you mentioned in a sentence or so, but there's no point magnifying that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also helpful to provide economic context. And whenever during the documentary that I make, I always try to talk about the economics in that decade or in that country, so that it provides context and reasons for the actions of the main character. Yeah, and overall, I'm just trying to do it as if I'm making a documentary or a film for Hollywood. So,
and then let me let's continue where you said you put stuff on a storyboard, right? So you kind of for you, what's maybe explain that for someone who is like a beginning YouTuber who is starting to write his first scripts. Their initial workflow probably is also doing a lot of research, figuring out what are the most interesting events. They probably do that on like a research document, right? But then they start to essentially turn this research doc, which which has some kind of structure, into a script. But for you, it seems like there's another step where you actually have like a visual storyboard. Like, what's the?
I mean, that is the visual story. When I take notes, I have I try to write it in a very simplified way. Character A does this, and character B does that, and then this happened, then that happened. I try to in a very simplified manner, and when I write, I just write. I try to add spice to that simplified version of the story. So you have to be willing to make a very bad first draft. And once that is done, your job isn't writing anymore. Your job is revising. Revising is a lot simpler than writing, try to come up with stuff. But, I don't have like a systematic way to tell you like do A and B and C. But what I typically do is that I try to make sure there's enough turns of events. And meaning that every minute there's something has to turn, otherwise audience will lose interest. And by turning of events, it could be something else, something unexpected happens, or some new information gets revealed that a character didn't know of, and now he has to make a different decision. That's kind of, quote unquote secret to get the audience engaged, and that's what YouTube algorithm loves the most. Yeah.
And do you use some AI tools in the process of that? Is ChatGPT or something like that at all useful when, like, for paragraphs or something like that?
Yeah, so ChatGPT is good to do some research, although it's wrong a lot of the times. But I only use ChatGPT to fix grammar errors, because I tried to have ChatGPT write sentences before. It sounds very bland and generic. So you can't really use that. And also, I'm concerned right now that YouTube is able to detect the language patterns of ChatGPT content. And if you do that, you actually are risking your channel if you do that. Yeah.
Enigmatic is this kind of word that, always pops up in YouTube scripts. So whenever someone, like some YouTube video essay tells me about an enigmatic story, then I'm pretty sure this is ChatGPT.
Yeah, there are certain words ChatGPT always uses. Yeah.
Yeah, loves to use that. So now you essentially have the script. How does now it needs to go into production? Does the script already have some like visual cues? Like, okay, here we're gonna show this, and and maybe also the music, or
the music is no, not the music. It's mostly when I read the script. Nowadays, I have a editor who's helping me doing some of the 3D stuff. In the script, I read it in a table format. I would specify this line, this must show, that line show a guy crying, and then this one shows us cityscape. I would specify that in order for my editor to figure out. And also, it's important to include other talking heads and your own talking heads as well, because when you're telling a story, sometimes the audience doesn't know how, what that means or how to react. For example, my documentary about Jamie Dimon turned around Bank One and it makes profit of $2 billion, right? That's a statement of a fact. Once that statement of fact is come out, it's better to actually show your face or show someone else's face to react to that. It's like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. He's so good. So having that little talking head there is actually, it shows to the audience, literally hype the audience up to to react properly. And and I was specified, for example, if I mention credit card, I would love to find a talking head that explains credit card, how that works. That I on YouTube and other documentaries try to find a talking head. If I can't find it, then I film it myself. That's when I show up in a documentary. So to provide exposition. So, and that's another step. Once you read the script, you're going to find the talking heads, find the news anchor footage. So
I think that is very valuable to people who are starting out with these video essays or documentaries, is, what you said about talking heads, because it just refreshes the whole video. It makes such a big difference. But
the reason why reaction videos are very popular is for the same reason. You also want to have elements of reactions in your own documentary. You're talking about certain events or facts, and someone else is reacting. It's actually pretty good. It works. It gets audience engaged. Yeah.
And what process do you recommend for finding these snippets? Because there is, I know some people use a workflow essentially where they just watch everything that's out there in terms of interviews, other documentaries, so on, and they just they take note of the timestamps. Here something amazing is being said or whatever, right? But then there's this more kind of pull tactic where you write the script first, and then you think about, okay, like here something would fit, but now you need to find that thing, which also is difficult, right? So
it's more of the latter. So in your script, if you mention a subject or options, so I would think that, okay, it's probably better for some expert to explain what option is. And then I go on YouTube and I search. The way I search is that I type in, what is option, that I pick the one that's look more authentic. If it's a college lecture, a class, and then or some other professional looking people, and then I would download their caption files as search keywords. Search the word option in the caption file, and once I now read it, so I don't actually watch the video. I'll read all the captions that are important, and then I'll go watch that particular segments to see if it fits. Yeah.
So wrapping this up, what do you think is some advice that you would give to new YouTubers starting out, especially in this documentary or video essay format?
Yeah, my 2 cents is that there is no one right way to make videos. I see a lot of other YouTubers who are making incredibly engaging videos and are completely different style than mine. And so you really just study, pick the ones that you like and break it down and see how it is done. It's really that simple. And it's very tedious and boring, but if you're really passionate about it, and you can go the extra miles. And I go so far as almost memorizing some of the documentary scripts that I like, so that I sort of like train myself to speak like the narrator, to write in a tone that people, people find it refreshing,
Where do you think this is heading with AI? There's so many new tools out there. I guess also in the production process, editing process, there's so many tools you can use.
Yeah.
Do you use some, and where do you think this is going? Are we going to be able to just tell stories on autopilot next year, and then basically we're all out of jobs?
Yes, I worry about that. So that's why I try to stay at the forefront of AI development, so that I become the first to take advantage of that. And so I can make enough money so that one day when AIs take over, I have some left over to support myself. So I'm pessimistic about it. AI is going to be able to do everything. But right now, before that happens, you got to make sure you make some money and store that away. Yeah.
So what are some tools you're looking at? I mean, there's like Midjourney, Runway, and stuff like that.
Runway, and I use a little bit of that, but so right now they're not good enough yet. So that's why I don't use them. I actually use old-fashioned 3D
Blender
tools like Unreal Engine and Blender. I don't use it. My editor uses them. So yeah, but I can foresee AI becoming very, very advanced very quickly. But ultimately, this is a comforting part. AI is not able to stitch together a narrative that resonates with human beings yet. It's a complicated task that requires human experience, understanding human emotions. If you ask AI to write a script right now, it's very bland and boring because it doesn't have, the kind of life experience humans do. And you can still, the only thing you can excel for the next 5-10 years maybe is to really get good at storytelling, to tell a story in a way that impacts people in a very deep way, not just catch attention, but also inspire them and make them think. Yeah.
So I mean, what we do is also like building YouTube channels, right? And we do that for our own portfolio, but also for other firms. And one thing that I also gave out as like a new direction a couple of months ago is it needs to be quality first. What's the point of having a channel that maybe works now for the next 6 months or so? It generates a couple of $1,000 a month, but it's doomed to die sooner or later due to mediocrity, right? Yeah. And you can't really scale it into something big, you can't really build some kind of business on top of it. This channel is doomed to die, and it's taking a lot of complexity for the team. So I'm 100% with you, and this is only going to get worse. Again?
How do you define quality?
I think the quality depends on the content. So for each type of content, there's different quality. But I have one simple quality indicator that almost always works for any channel and any video. And that's when you get comments that are something along the lines of, holy shit, why does this channel have so few subscribers, right?
Yeah, good. That's a good indicator, yeah.
I tell clients, if you get comments like this, or you deserve so many more views or whatever, something like that, okay, you're actually on the right path. Because only if you get these kind of comments, your content is probably exceptional enough for the niche that it's occupying. and if you get these kind of comments consistently, you're on the right path. Now, what exactly quality means, obviously, is always, different. But I completely agree with everything you said in terms of, finance documentary quality. And I'm very impressed about, your process.
Thank you.
Now, you told me when we were doing this little business and finance meetup in New York. When I met you, we were walking around the streets of New York, and you told me you're very fascinated with paranormal stuff, aliens, and you just like to read about that and consume content there.
Yeah, exactly.
You also said, maybe at some point you'll start a channel in that direction.
I haven't started yet.
You haven't started yet, but what are, for people listening to all of this and thinking to themselves, holy shit, I should really start a YouTube channel. Are there some niches that you think have potential, or some industries that you think are interesting, or that you have observed in the last couple of months?
Yeah, so almost with every topic, there's going to be a lot of YouTube videos nowadays, and it's tough. It's never easy, okay? And if you really want to excel, see if you can pick a topic that become the best, make the best video at. For me, if you search Jamie Dimon or search Morgan Stanley, Citibank, my video is on top of that topic, because for that small niche, I make the best quality video of that niche. So nowadays, it's actually possible to get a lot of views if you make the best video on a smaller niche. If you admire this celebrity, you can make a whole documentary on that celebrity that's better than anything that's ever done. And if this celebrity consistently gets some kind of traffic, and then your video will consistently get views. In terms of alien topic, that one is probably the most evergreen topic ever. There on History Channel, on History's YouTube channel, they sometimes released the documentary they made in 1990s about aliens that are still getting watched 3 millions. There's a group of people in the world who are always fascinated about the subject, me included. I go to bed listening to conspiracy stories and mystery stories, stuff like that. So I listen to those stories to get relaxed. Yeah.
So do you think there's aliens?
Oh, yes, but they may not be among us yet, and or we don't have contact with them yet. So the scale of the universe almost guarantees makes the likelihood of not having other aliens very improbable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Talking about, you said before something about conspiracy theories, and that's actually an interesting point I want to dig into a little bit deeper.
Okay.
You might have noticed with you published a video about Rothschild, and it absolutely went completely viral. And you might have noticed, for topics like Rothschild or BlackRock, there's a lot of people thinking certain things about these companies. And it's, some might be valid, but some are not, and some are just, what you would label as conspiracy theories. So what is your thinking about, making sure, because with your channel, I'm sure you need to be careful to not attract the wrong type of audience on your channel, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
What are your thoughts there?
So, are we publishing this on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, I wanted to make a story about Rothschild that based on validated facts. That's why I call it untold history. Because I want to tell the entire history of Rothschild, from the books that I can somehow trust. And I read two. They're still behind. I read two thick books about Rothschild, I try to steer clear from talking conspiracy. And some people commented on the channel, on that video, saying, why didn't you talk about the Waterloo incident when Rothschild manipulated the market? And it's because many sources saying that those was propaganda made up, that it wasn't really true. But then, when I try to publish the Rothschild video, that's when I realized that some of the conspiracies might be true. So, I did not tell anyone about this. The amount of hurdles I faced trying to publish that video. The first hurdle is that I'm not going to name the sponsor, but this sponsor was going to sponsor with me, but I told them that, okay, this is Rothschild documentary. And then they pulled out in the very end, and for not telling me why, eventually they told me it's because a Rothschild is on the board of their company.
Wow.
I was like, okay, we're going to change to a different sponsor. So I changed the sponsor that's changed the startup, a different sponsor. Anyway, and then when I hit publish button, YouTube said, this video is limited. You can, not monetize, not only cannot monetize, but also limited, like certain regions cannot display it. And then I was like, what's going on? And I checked the title. The title clearly says Rothschild in it. The secret is the untold history of Rothschild. And then my friend told me, just remove the word Rothschild from the title. And I removed Rothschild from the title. And I think I even asked you about it during that incident. And after struggling and fixing the video too, and fixing the thumbnail too, and I had to downgrade that from 4K to 2K, and changing a lot of things. And then the video finally got published.
Wow.
So the amount of hurdles I never faced these amount of hurdles trying to get a video published. The fact that it was with the Rothschild documentary, and it was that hard for me to publish it, goes to show that this family probably actually has some kind of influence that we don't know about. Yeah.
Makes you think.
Yeah.
And okay, I want to talk about one thing that stuck with me that I saw on, I think, one of your LinkedIn posts, and you actually mentioned this also briefly in the intro. Your goal was or is to build a Netflix for business films. So is that still like the vision? And what inspired you to do that?
I came to this realization that in terms of fictional story, they're so well done. Hollywood is all fictional stories, and a lot of contents out there are very well done. But when it comes to nonfiction, the qualities are very low. What I mean by that is that the production quality is in there. But Netflix sort of somehow changed that, because Netflix was for a while known for having high quality nonfiction documentaries. Some of the documentaries are really good on Netflix. Because they imply the same storytelling techniques, same production standard to make documentaries. But also realized that in the field of finance, in the history of economics, there are so many more stories that are not told. Like, dramatic stories, corporate battles, takeovers, and so many interesting stories happening in the economic history of America that are not yet told, and that are not yet made to documentaries. And that's when I realized that I could do that. So applying the good high techniques to developing good economic stories. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think it's actually viable to build this like as a business, to build an actual, I guess it would be like a paywalled service to, watch like business documentaries, or is that too niche?
Yeah, the concern is that it's too niche. But then again, there's a Bloomberg, which is a big TV network on finance. There's NBC, and there's even a more niche company that's doing very well. masterclass.org. It's a very niche. Just talk about some master class, and it made that $180 million in 1 year. Just a master class, and people pay $9 to watch all these people teaching pretty much bullshit. Because you cannot learn things that quickly, in a few hours. But yeah, if you do it well, I guess I haven't begun to execute that as good as I hope. But yeah, I think it's very likely. Yeah. I met with I probably shouldn't say his name. I met with a guy by the name of Cardone, and he wants to do something like that too. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So there is also obviously the possibility you talked about, like Bloomberg and so on, is you could turn into like a Bloomberg if you would add recent news, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
covering recent stories. Yeah.
Exactly, like very recent stories, and then obviously like some kind of editorial website and so on. But then that's when it gets complicated, right? Then you need journalists and you need people on the ground and you need like real-time reporting and stuff like that.
Then you don't really have an edge anymore. You're just replicating an existing company. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But also interesting. I mean, let's see what happens with this Cardone thing that you just mentioned right now.
Yeah. He's doing releasing a lot of business documentaries, and he's trying to at least. Yeah.
I mean, like last time I checked his channel, it was very, like, I just like not trying to bash him or something, but it was not very impressive, like in terms of documentaries.
He's doing more of like a TV network thing. Yeah, I don't think I can reveal any more because those plans are not yet executed by them. Yeah,
don't want to get sued. I know some people who are also doing interesting businesses. They are licensing essentially documentaries that were aired on TV, and then they are distributing it via many different channels, but like more like these online native channels, and obviously also on YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, they are not making hundreds of millions, but they're making millions, and it's a nice business.
I think if you do well with YouTube alone, you can beat, you don't even have to think about any other channels, any other avenues. I used to watch this YouTuber in finance called Meet Kevin. He's like one of the hardest working YouTubers out there. He's like broadcasting himself on a daily basis, talking about financial news. And I was very surprised by how much he was making. At some point during 2020 or 2021, he was making $3 million a month just from YouTube. And he monetized the hell out of it. Like every single way you could monetize, he did. He tried to sell life insurance. He did all those things. And he released 4 videos a day. Each of them have sponsors. And based on my experience, he's probably getting paid, $10K or $5 to $10K for each sponsor, and 4 videos a day, and also sells courses, and but then again, his channel declined, but at least it proved the point that he was, it was possible to make millions, even a month, on YouTube alone. Yeah,
that's crazy. I mean, if you get 5 to 10K for your videos and you publish like 4 of them a day, that's like, let's say 30K on average. That you do that 30 times in a month, that's like 900,000. That's a lot of money
just for sponsorships alone.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I mean, I also know the channel. I agree, it kind of seems like it has declined, and I think, at least like judging from the comments, or I saw a couple of reaction videos, I think too, where people are criticizing him. Probably partly also for this kind of attitude of,
over monetization.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. One thing that I definitely wanted to ask you is about finance personalities. You are, you're portraying half of the world of finance. For you personally, who are your, top finance people and why?
After studying all these finance people, I realized that most of them don't know jack shit. And there are a few who actually know, okay? Stanley Druckenmiller, in terms of macro trading, macro hedge fund guy, he actually knows. He has real knowledge and ability. Most hedge fund managers don't beat S&P 500, but this guy was able to return 30% a year for 30 years, I think. Which is incredible. And then Carl Icahn, I also admire Carl Icahn.
1 second on Druckenmiller. I think we had at one point we were thinking about doing a documentary on him, and the working title was "The Billionaire That Billionaires Look Up To," because he seems to be he's a kind of guy that finance folks who have made billions, they still look up to that guy because they know that he's bringing in the numbers.
Yeah. He has what's called a real edge, and then Carl Icahn figured out he could make outsized returns by, intimidation or doing whatever he's doing. He also knows what he's doing.
So you pick Carl Icahn over Bill Ackman?
No, Bill Ackman is not. He's problematic. I don't want to bash him, but he's problematic. In terms of being a successful hedge fund manager, he's not. He used to be, but his long-term record isn't really that good if you think about it.
That's true, but he has made great bets, especially in during crises, right?
Yeah. But anyone. It can happen to anyone. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to. One of the most difficult things in finance is to distinguish between skill and luck. And even a lot of billionaires, due to their circumstance and the network, and they might appear to be successful, or they might appear to make right trades, but if they can't replicate that long enough, then one can argue that he was just being lucky, But I do believe Druckenmiller and Carl Icahn have real skills set rather than just luck.
Yeah, so you would say Ackman just lacks the consistency.
2 p.m. deep work session.
Hold on. My alarm goes off. It says a 2 p.m. deep work session begins now. I typically have alarm set up. I used to be a programmer after college. So I'm able to write Linux, shell code, all that stuff. And I programmed this little computer as a reminder, like AM work or, relax. Kind of like school discipline format. The thing about working alone is that it's hard to maintain a discipline. So I try to force a discipline on me to have that structure. So now it's done.
What works for me is the Pomodoro technique. I guess that's something people. That's something. Actually, a lot of productivity gurus and so on suggest that. I noticed that if I use that consequently, it works very well for me. So essentially, you just sit down, you take a timer. There's a lot of apps, and Pomodoro means work for 25 minutes and then break for 5 minutes, and then again work for 25, break 5. And then the third time you do that, you're allowed to take like a half-hour break or something like that. And for me, I want, during a certain day, I want to get so and so many kind of Pomodoro sessions in. And it's very easy to start with one because okay, it's just 25 minutes. Even if you're not motivated to work, you can do 25 minutes. But what you notice that once you're in it, and then after 20 minutes, usually I keep working for like an hour or so, and then I take a break.
Flow state.
Exactly, and that kind of helps with it. So I made actually at the beginning of this year, I made a conscious decision to start working with the Pomodoro technique again because I kind of lost it for a couple of months.
Yeah. I don't do that exactly, but I have a timer, and having a sense of time is very helpful of fostering flow state. And I also have a specific plan, and also self-talk, telling yourself that this got to be done today, create a little bit of pressure, and all of that will help you get into the zone. And the zone is what gets, what's helpful getting work done. Yeah.
Another thing that I can recommend is I have this inbox that, like my assistant, she scans emails, and then I have, emails in this inbox that I need to react to personally or somehow decide what the hell to do with this email, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I do is I set a timer, and my goal is to rush through that within 10 minutes. And usually 10 minutes is pretty optimistic. But you notice that if you set such a tight deadline that, many emails, you don't need to like respond with many sentences and whatever, if you just keep it short and you don't think about it too long, like what am I supposed to do with this, or how am I supposed to react?
It doesn't hang in the back of your head.
Exactly. Just check it off and move on to the next one. Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
And that kind of works quite well for me too.
Yeah. Like, do you listen to Jocko Willink?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, he said, you line them up, you freaking crush them.
Yeah, this guy is inspiring in some ways.
Yeah. Do you think he's on steroids?
I think so. Yeah. But
he looks like he's on it because he's like, he got too much testosterone going on. Oh, it could be natural. You never know.
Let me see, Jocko Willink. I haven't seen a like topless picture of the guy in a long time. But
I don't think there is any.
Maybe there isn't. Yeah. No, it seems like maybe there isn't. But look, I think in his age, it's very unusual to have a body like he has, and I think a lot of these people that we admire, they are on some kind of TRT dose, and I don't even think that's bad. Like I'm the first one to admit, once if I get to a certain age and I see my testosterone just declines rapidly, I'm doing regular testing. If I see it declines a lot, then I'm super open to jumping on, some testosterone replacement therapy.
Okay.
So as long as you do it in a, controlled environment, you get your tests done regularly, you go to the doctor and so on, and you get clean testosterone, right? You don't buy it on the street corner, but you get it prescribed. I think the risks are minimal. There are still risks, but you can minimize them.
Yeah.
So another thing that I read on your LinkedIn is actually going back to how you got here where you are right now with this successful YouTube channel and these big ambitions for the future. I read you had this one post where you said great employees are unique and authentic, but these are not the kind of people that get into companies. It was actually a video that you
that was one of my first videos on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yeah, and you said essentially the message of the story was the more people you know, the more opportunities you're going to have. So talk a little bit about what was your thinking there, and then maybe after that, I also just want to paint the picture for people that have watched your documentaries probably for years, but don't know what your background is, because you've been doing some neural net swaps with Tom Hanks and Woody's face and stuff like that, and people need to understand what's your background, data science and things like that.
Yeah, so it was 2020 when the world was locked down. I was in my final year MBA, last semester MBA program, but I had to stay with a friend. I lived at his home for many, many months, and that's when I had all the time, because we didn't leave the house for many weeks at a time, and I was trying out all kinds of ideas I had, because I read a book called The Lean Startup in 2019, and I learned that, if you want to do something, it's better to try it than to overanalyze it. So I just have all the ideas, and YouTube was one of them. But that's why when I started experimenting with deep fake AI and all that stuff. And at the same time, I was also trying to get a job. I even joined a Google competition and stuff like that. I joined lots of competitions. Another one was this quant hedge fund called Numerai, and they have thousands of data scientists competing, and they write algorithms, and they will try to predict different stock prices and how they do for the next month. And then a month later, they rank everyone based on their predictions. And you have to stake your money in it. If you're confident with your results, and you stake more money to it, and then based on your stake, and if you're right, they will pay you a lot more. So at some point, I got to number 2, which is crazy because I never thought I could compete with all these PhDs. I was just learning this stuff on the go. Sorry, my cat is here. I got to number 2, but that's when also YouTube will start taking off. I released a few videos here and there. I was learning along the way, but not enough to support a living. So I still had to look for a job. But I did not get any answer back for interviews and all that stuff. And I was like, I'm obviously a capable person, and I'm very unique, right? Because of all the experience I have. But none of these companies want to interview me because I don't fit their standards. Like job experience, and I was a finance major trying to get a coding job too, and yeah, out of frustration, I made that LinkedIn video, and after that, after a few months, then my YouTube channel took off. So
I think that's very inspiring, and I think that's also a nice ending to the whole interview. There's so many opportunities out there, and you don't always need to go the standard route. In fact, most of the times, probably the standard route is not the right way for you.
Yeah, and just keep trying, and also don't become very results obsessed. Ultimately, aim to become a type of person that is qualified, is competent, that doesn't quit, has all the good characteristics. A person like that just doesn't fail. Like, you can fail temporarily, but if I come up with the impression that you are a capable person, if you have the image, a brand within people's mind that you are the capable person, or you are tough, and you're gonna do well. You're gonna do well in the end. Instead of trying to be obsessed with specific money you want to make or specific outcome you look after, just become the motherfucker who gets it done, and then your life will improve automatically. Yeah.
Most importantly, make a lot of gains, because that is probably one of the most important things in life, to be extremely muscular, right?
Exactly. If you look at ancient sculptures in ancient Greek, the men there, they were like already very muscular. And I even saw some sculpture of ancient warrior women. They were muscular too. So it goes to show that this is not a modern thing. This has been around throughout history. There used to be very muscular men in the past and muscular men today. So it's a consistent thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we became weak, but we can always. It's us, Rocky. Fighting against this trend.
Oh yeah.
All right, man. Like, anything else you want to say, and also obviously, where should people get in touch with you or check you out?
Try not to get in touch with me.
Please don't.
I have so many people contacting me every day. Anyway,
Some new spam emails coming in.
Don't email me. No, you can try to send me a message on Instagram. Sometimes I answer that. I get a lot of people contacting me daily, but my lifestyle is that of pretty much a loner. I live in kind of solitude because I only see my friend a few minutes a day, maybe, or maybe once a week or something like that. Most of the time, I'm alone. I'm working. So Instagram is my main communication method. Yeah.
All right, so we'll put that in the show notes. And Rocky, it was a pleasure to have you on here. I'm looking forward to seeing you again, maybe in New York when I'll be there next time, or maybe you'll be around here.
All right. Thank you, Kevin.
Bye-bye.